All right. So, hello everyone. I haven't done my profile yet, but my name is Alex Polanski, and I'm a third-year graduate student at the University of Kansas. And today we're going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. So, what exactly is imposter syndrome? That actually tends to be a hard question to answer. It's not officially recognized by the American Psychiatric Association as an actual disorder, but it is a phenomenon that is experienced by many people in many aspects of life. It's generally described as an individual's doubt in both themselves and their achievements, and a frequent sense of anxiety that they will be exposed for who they think they really are. It was first described by psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Eames, who initially thought that it was exclusive to women, but now we know that it affects both men and women alike, and it especially affects underrepresented minorities. It's a strange condition in that it tends to manifest in people who would otherwise be considered pretty high achieving individuals, which is why it's becoming increasingly prevalent in both undergraduate and graduate studies, especially for those in the STEM field. Just to name a few famous people across a diversity of professions that have openly admitted to suffering from imposter syndrome, they include Maya Angelou, Michelle Obama, Sonia Sotomayor, Tom Hanks, and Amnon Savage. And a little more appropriate for our setting, even Einstein himself had prevailing feelings of self-doubt and was quoted saying, "The exaggerated esteem in which my life work is held makes me very ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler, and I wish I could express my own imposter syndrome as eloquently as that." So, are there symptoms of imposter syndrome? Yes, some of these seem to contradict one another, but that's fine. Imposter syndrome can manifest itself in different ways in different people, and individuals can often have a mix of these behaviors. For example, do you over prepare for a project in an effort to distract people from noticing any shortcomings that you might have? Or maybe you do the exact opposite, and the fear of being quote unquote found out makes you put off finishing a project or not even starting a project at all. So a lot of procrastination. The underlying reasoning being that people can't find out you're a fraud if they never see your work, right? Or maybe you downplay your own achievements because you think you got lucky or you don't deserve the opportunities that were afforded to you. Are you afraid that if you talk about your work with another person, that they'll find out that you're not as smart as they thought you were? Or can you think of any negative behavior that you rely on to make excuses when things don't work out? I mean, I'll even go ahead and expose myself. There are things on this list that I know that I do. In my first year of graduate school, I experienced these a lot. I was at a new school halfway across the country, very far away from the support systems that I had built as an undergrad, and starting in a field that I knew pretty much nothing about. And I distinctly remember before meetings with my advisor, I would always have this sense of anxiety and think that this is it. This is the meeting where he would finally find out that I didn't know anything and that he had somehow made some kind of mistake taking me on as a student. Now, all of these are incredibly irrational thoughts, but as I've talked to more and more graduate students and even people outside of science, I've found that these thoughts are anything but rare. And unfortunately, imposterism tends to be chronic. It manifests itself as a cycle that can be pretty hard to break, and it usually begins with some task that ends with some tangible achievement, which induces feelings of fraudulence and anxiety. Much of the time, these feelings can be described as, "Oh no, this is it. This is when everyone will finally find out that I don't know what I'm doing." And this typically results in two reactions, either over preparation or procrastination. Since the individual is more often than not perfectly capable of the task at hand, there is usually a positive outcome. They're able to complete the task, regardless if they over prepare or if they procrastinate. The project gets finished, the paper is accepted for publication, your advisor approves your work, whatever example you want. But what follows is a sense of relief, but then some false rationalization. The individual will attribute their success not to their own talents or abilities, but to the fact that they either got lucky or they over-prepared to the point where no one noticed where they really messed up. And all this does is to create more feelings of self-doubt, and then the cycle, unfortunately, starts over again. Now, imposter syndrome can actually have a pretty large impact on both your social and your work life, and has been linked to cases of both depression and anxiety. And paradoxically, it doesn't really go away with any more experience or more achievements. In fact, in a lot of cases, without seriously addressing imposterism, accomplishing more tends to make it worse. And if any of this is resonating with you, don't worry because you're certainly not alone. It's estimated that 70% of people, not just scientists, but the general public, will experience some degree of imposter syndrome in their lives. So, what can we do to sort of remove this metaphorical mask? Are there solutions to imposter syndrome? You can find a wealth of ways to deal with imposter syndrome on the internet, and some of them may work for you, and others may not. But the important thing is to try some of them out and make an effort to overcome it. A few of the more basic suggestions would be to not dwell on your feelings of self-doubt. If you feel like you can't accomplish a task, try to stop those thoughts and focus on the work at hand. Try to realize that you're a capable individual, but you're not perfect. No one is. Your abilities have gotten you this far, and there's no reason that they can't get you any further. Another one is keeping a journal of positive experiences, and I think this is a really good suggestion, and it's something that I even do from time to time. Writing things down for whatever reason seems to make them more tangible and believable, and if we just keep them in our heads. So collecting these pieces of positive reinforcement in a notebook can serve as a physical object to turn to when imposterism returns in the future. You can use it to prove to yourself that you are a competent person and that you deserve to be where you are. And like I said, I do this from time to time. This is something that my own advisor said to me, a few days ago, and it made me feel good and helped me relieve a few feelings of self-doubt. So it's a very effective way of combating these feelings. And probably the most important part is to pick up allies. So, like I said before, most people experience imposterism at some point, and having people to talk with about these feelings make it much easier to get through. I can't tell you how many times I was talking with another graduate student and only barely alluding to my feelings of not belonging. It sparked an entire conversation that revealed that they were going through the exact same thing. I've always come out of those interactions not only with a stronger reassurance in myself, but also a closer connection with another colleague. And so there's a lot more to say about imposter syndrome, and there's tons of other research resources on the internet, but I hope this is a good introduction and you take a little bit from this.